Call to order. Open with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear God, bless all our actions and carry them on by thy gracious assistance, so that every prayer and good work of ours may begin from thee and by thee be happily ended. Through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Sitting right behind me this way.
And roll call.
All right. Rob Snyder,
Present.
Joe VonSas,
Here.
Tim Klunk,
Here.
Tim Wagner,
Here.
Keith Lewter,
Here.
Tom Snyder,
Here.
Steve Pascoe.
Okay. And Steve's not here. He had something major that he had to do. Okay. So we need approval of the June 12th meeting minutes. I need a motion. And a second.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as.
Okay.
I don't remember, it's been so long, but I'll second some other stuff.
Tom, yeah, you got it. Either one. Tom, second one too. All right. Motion carries. Okay, now announcements. Jess, do you have anything?
I do not.
Okay. Mayor, do you have anything?
No, sir.
Okay, then it's your chief you do.
In past meetings, I have spoken about the emphasis on community policing and the mindset of the department's goal of improving the quality of life of our residents. The McSherrystown Police Department has been engaged in the community by conducting business checks, school checks, and house checks. Our department has attended events at DeLone High School and has initiated other community-oriented activities, such as Coffee with a Cop at Britain Coffee Company. I have also spoken about the McSherrystown Police Department's efforts to improve communications in the community, to create a fair, impartial, and transparent department. This is being accomplished by creating an environment based on servant leadership and treating our citizens with respect during our interactions with them. Furthermore, we continue to provide monthly reports which contains the data of the department's activities. This month, I would like to speak about the McSherrystown Police Department's commitment to accountability. To accomplish this, the department has reviewed its current policies and has undertaken the task of creating a draft of a new policy manual that will be consistent with modern policing principles. Effective policies are a necessary part of law enforcement and provide officers with clear guidelines and protocols in the performance of their duties and responsibilities. Said policies require review and updating on a consistent basis due to changes in case law. Once departmental review is complete, it is my sincere endeavor to have officers from the McSherrystown Police Department, along with the Mayor of McSherrystown, highlight the policies to a member of the Borough Council, the Civil Service Commission, the Public Safety Committee, and a citizen of the borough to gain their points of view of the document. Following this, it is my hope to have a completed policy manual that will be incorporated into service at the start of 2025.
Excellent.
Very good.
Yeah. Okay.
If I may, I'll continue with the
Yeah,
report
sure.
for June. Our total calls for service were 150. Proactive policing initiatives, building checks were 25. Business checks were 50. Reactive policing initiatives, we had 3 animal complaints, 3 civil incidents, 4 criminal mischief, 2 disturbances, 1 domestic, and 3 harassments. For reactive policing initiatives continued, ordinance violations, we had 5. We had 3 parking complaints. We had 4 suspicious activities, 2 thefts, and 1 warrant service. In the community policing initiatives, assist EMS, we had 3 calls. Assist police, we had 3. Family and children, we had 3 calls. Mutual aid, we had 6. Public service, we had 3, and 3 welfare checks. Under our other duties, we had 1 death report, 1 emergency maintenance. We had 39 field contact reports, 1 fire, that was an alarm that was activated, 2 911 hang-ups, 74 follow-up to calls, 1 lost and found, 3 miscellaneous info requests, and under incident offenses, we had 10. Incidents cleared by arrest, we had 2 adult arrests and 1 juvenile allegation. We had 4 traffic accidents in June. We had 2 traffic citations issued and 3 parking complaints. For our time in attendance, we had 521.7 patrol hours, 23 hours of overtime, and 11 hours of vacation or paid time off. Under our vehicles, total miles for the vehicles this month was 869.5 with 166.7 gallons of fuel, and one donation for $1,000 from the McSherrystown Moose.
Okay, thanks. All right. We'll move on to public comments. I have Kathy Niedererr, 319 North Street. No? Is there anyone here that didn't sign this would like to say something? I'll leave it open. Anybody have anything? Go ahead, Tom.
I would just like to remind the citizens that we have a dog park at the end of North Street down near Food Line, and the remainder of the parks in town are for recreation, not for running dogs. The people don't seem to care that there's signs up that the parks are closed to dogs, other than the dog park. That was the purpose of building the dog park. And when we're on the subject of pet owners, I've heard from several people, including myself, that people out walking their dogs are just depositing their bags of dog poo in anybody's garbage cans they want to. Pet owners shouldn't have to put up with the stench of other people's waste from their dogs. They can take it home with them, and that would be greatly appreciated by most of the citizens of town. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments from anybody in council? Okay, we'll proceed on to the new business. So we need approval of this agreement for rescission with Shentel. So hopefully everybody had a chance to read that. I need a motion to approve the agreement of rescission that was provided to us by Shentel. If anybody needs any question, we can direct that to our solicitor before we take a motion. Any questions?
Shentel, they were fiber optics, is that what they were, for a new, that would like be in competition with Xfinity, Comcast? It would be another option for us.
Right.
So if we're rescinding this, okay, fine. Is there anybody else that we can,
Brightspeed.
they're wanting, are we in negotiations with them, or? Oh,
Put it this way, we didn't make the request for this, they did. They don't want to make the investment.
okay, but, yeah, I was just
We
hoping there was
talked
someone
about
else in the,
When it was first initially negotiated, I was part of that. We had no choice but to ratify and allow it to happen, and we could not say no. And we talked about it then, and now they decided they want out.
and that's perfectly fine. I just want to know if there was somebody else, because, yeah, everybody around us seems to have options, and we're kind of stuck in a bubble.
Competition's pretty fierce, so yeah, there's always going to be somebody else.
And Brightspeed seems to be doing pretty good so
Yes,
far.
I've seen, yes.
Good.
Great.
Okay, so, yep, is there a motion to rescind this?
I'll make a motion.
All right, and a second, yep. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
So motion carries. And the last one here, approval of expenditures. Hope you had a chance to glance through that. Any questions about the expenditures? If not, I'll need a motion to pay the expenditures.
The question with Barry Isaac and project, there's I guess the one project, and then they had two different times that they're working on. Is that the South Second Street by chance?
So they bill us and they separate it by project. So you can see in the memo section, the first project is for matters with Columbia Gas. And then we have a general category, and then we also have the Second Street Development category.
There you go.
I see it
Look in
now.
the memo, I separated them all out so that we can account for those things.
Yeah. Making progress with Second Street. Are they?
Yeah, we're working on it.
All right.
I did not.
No, we get a, did somebody, I don't think we had a motion. You were asking a question. So you
I
still
make
need
a motion to approve the bills.
All right, second. Tom, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I don't have anything else. Anybody else want to say anything before we close our meeting?
Yeah.
All right. Need a motion?
All right, I'll say it.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yep.
Come on up.
Just want to, please be given a report. As far as fireworks in the borough, do you just follow the state guidelines, or is there a,
State guidelines.
and basically, I'm trying to refresh my memory as to how many feet?
150 feet or 50 yards?
50 feet?
50 yards or 150 feet.
Okay. So basically, that's telling me in McSherrystown, there's nowhere you can set
That's
fireworks
correct.
to get. It
That's-
happens.
That's buildings, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's buildings, dog, pets, and children.
Hell, I mean, my biggest concern with them is, coming down line on somebody's roof. And there was a few nights after the 4th that over in the park, the Moose parking lot, they were setting them off for a good half hour or so. And I'm thinking, does nobody hear that and checking? As I said, to me, there's nowhere in McSherrystown that it should be legal.
Right.
And just wondering why, or if any of that's been,
Yeah. Has anybody ever been written up for any of that
or
violation?
even investigated or checked into
Yeah.
it or whatever, I mean.
It's a good question.
Do we just need to call if we see something
Yes.
like that? And I mean,
And there are times when people think that it is happening here
Oh,
in the borough.
and just like when you put your newsletter out, maybe you could put something in there that, just to remind residents that there's nowhere in McSherrystown that you could actually be setting fireworks. I don't know if we'll do it.
sorry, what
And
were you?
also, if I may say, there were times when I was out on the 4th that you could hear fireworks over in Conawaga, and it sounds like it's right here in the borough. So, but I was around quite a bit on the night of the 4th.
Rick, Chief did give a good report on that at the prior meeting. He stated the whole law from the state, but not many people watch the meetings or come to the meetings, but he did put it out there before them.
Maybe, your next, well, not your next newsletter, but the one that would go out in.
Next year.
Before the 4th.
I will do it at the next one as well, because
Maybe I'll remind
There-
it's the Labor Day
yeah,
one, and you're
there-
gonna have the same issue with that for Labor Day, so I'll put it in the next one.
Yeah,
Oh,
They
thanks-
go all
thanks for
year
that,
long
Rick.
now.
Yeah, Appreciate it. All right.
I just wanted, Gina, did you want to speak?
Well, I can speak.
Yeah, please do.
I know I think we kind of asked you to be here to answer some questions that we're hearing out there, but I think you've kind of been eclipsed today by the divert zoning hearing that's going over in Conawaga Township.
We're gonna do, we will have a zoning hearing. There's a lot of stuff that's been going on. We did purchase a house here in McSherrystown, and there's a lot of false stories going out there about what it is and what we'll be doing. And, there was a meeting that we had near the senior center, and I felt like a lot of stuff came out that was not, that a lot of false things were corrected. But there was very little people there. There's a couple people that are actually running with this, and they're using social media. I actually, just for the public to know, I actually am the gentleman who owns the house. I'm able to go to the house every day and make sure everything is okay in the house. I was actually cornered, wasn't allowed to go onto the property because there was about 20 people that surrounded me and another gentleman. He actually ended up running. I actually ended up staying thinking I was going to be able to disband any kind of false information that was but it seemed the more that I said, the more aggressive the people became. And so I actually had people blocking me in leaving. I was finally able to leave. I had one individual who has sent me over 200 emails.
Yep.
And harassment it's well beyond harassment. But we have no problems, given the information. This is not a house for sex offenders. There will be 6 men there. They will live as a family. They will go in. The big thing is that it's a boarding house. It's not a boarding house. They all live together. They cook together. They do everything together. And all of these guys come there and they do not pay rent. None of them come there with any kind of money. We get them back on their feet and help them. So I think there's a lot of misinformation out there, and some of it's put out there to really stir the pot. But it's ironic because we've had a couple meetings. I was told this was going to be standing room only tonight, and I was going to come and try to, make sure that no other false information kept going. But it seems that no one has shown up. So, we're pretty confident that the zoning is correct. We have 3 other houses, and it's their right to appeal. But we will, like I said, we'll continue on. But like I said, it will be for men. There's no services in the house. The men will leave and get whatever services they need, depending on what their individual circumstances are.
And Gina, the 2 things that you brought up at that other meeting about the drug testing,
Yes.
and the other was the curfew, if you want to just...
Yeah, there is no individual, leases for these men. When they come in, it's a very, the environment is, it's a living arrangement where they have a curfew every night, which is, on weekdays it's 10 o'clock, on weekends it's 11 o'clock. They have to adhere to that. There is no staff inside these houses. There's a senior guy that's maybe been, who has been involved with individuals that live there. And so they will, kind of report to him. It's very structured. There's cameras in the house. There will be cameras on the outside of the house. We know when they go to work. We will help them get jobs. We know when they will come into the house. We know when they leave the house. We know all of that. The structure is what they need because that's what they lack usually in their lives. And it ends up being their routine and structure is what really helps them get to a better part of their life.
Okay, just one thing I want to throw out there. We're talking about this meeting that took place that did not have anything to do with council.
No.
So I just want to put that out there for any of the residents who think that was a council-sanctioned meeting. It was not. It was a group of concerned neighbors who kind of had their own thing going. I know I didn't even know about it until the night it happened. So just want to throw that out there. And also, so there's no staff there, so you're relying solely on the cameras to let you know if they're breaking curfew,
And
if
the
they're...
senior person who lives there, who will be living there, so there will only be 6 men there. They will share rooms, and I will be in. I have 3 other houses that I'm in and out of 3 to 4 times a day. I go in the morning, and most of the guys in the afternoon. I'm here and there in the afternoon because most of them are working. And then in the evening, I go back. I get to know a lot of these guys. We have what's called peer support. They'll go in and out of the houses as well. But they don't work in the house. They're not staffed in the house. They'll go there. They'll take them to the places they may need to go because a lot of these men have they don't have a driver's license, so they don't. So we'll take them to probation appointments or doctor's appointments or intense outpatient, whatever they may need. It is literally a group home for men.
Okay.
And I've tried to I've tried to ask some of the people that have said, derogatory things about it. If I didn't tell you where our homes are in Hanover, you won't know. Because it is, nobody knows. They live very quietly. They go to work every day. They come home every day. They make dinner. They go see their children. It's not, people have this whole
Misconception.
Is that it's there's going to be drugs. I had this crowd of people that were screaming they're going to rape our children and steal our cars, and that's not what's happening. These guys are, I speak to them, I screen them very well. We have other people, I have an office in Hanover, we will screen them. These guys live peacefully, they're done with that life. Now, is everybody done with that life? No. But we help them the best we can, and if they can't conform to our rules in the house, which everybody signs that yes, they understand the rules, and everybody has to follow those rules. Nobody gets anything different. If they can't, then they will have to leave. And so that's how these houses work, and they do. I mean, we have some great success stories. Again, it's not perfect, but we're not disrupting neighborhoods, and it's not craziness. And I have 3 houses. In 9 years, we've had 2 medical calls and 1 police call in 9 years. Now, and the medical calls didn't have anything to do with anybody using. They had issues from using, and they had medical conditions. So it's not like we have the police and the ambulances at our houses all the time. That's not what's happening. So it's, like I said, there's a couple of them that are truly leading and misleading a lot of people.
Also, the borough, the council has no authority over this.
They're not.
Because it is a zoning,
Right, that's what I was getting ready to cover, even though we're sitting here talking about it, and I've already expressed my thoughts and everything like that, and I'm saying this because I know we have to film this, but the thing that I'm not going to put up with, and I know that you've been threatened,
Yes.
and so not just as a council member, but as a citizen itself, that's the thing that I'm not going to put up with on either side. So I want it known that if I see, whether it's on Facebook, whatever, anybody threatening someone, I'm going right to the chief with names. Okay? This is, there are times we just have to be adults, whether we agree or not. And so I came away sort of dissatisfied last time because of that. I'm just not going to, I'm not going to put up with that. Legally, again, we're out of it for now as a board.
No,
But,
and you guys
right.
never were in it.
and I did express to you, because again, I know how, even though I got a couple of negative stuff said about me, because I made the comment, even though I know how it goes, and as I said to you, I take my hat off to you or anybody that want to do something like this, because you've got to have a heart for people. But the thing that I think the board would agree with me, what we're not going to put up with is threats to anyone. Threats. That's just the violence and this and that.
Well, yeah, the
Wait.
biggest misconception was that I had to go, and here's the thing, that I had to go and tell everybody what I was doing. I didn't have to.
No, you didn't have to.
I didn't
No.
have to let anybody know. And the zoning, we didn't have a zoning hearing. I tried to make sure everything is covered, and I got a zoning determination letter that had nothing to do with council. Nothing to do with council. So I didn't have to go and tell neighbors that I was buying. I mean, nobody goes around and says, I'm going to go to all the neighbors of a house that they're going to buy and say, listen, I want to tell you I'm buying this house. It doesn't work that way in anything, even businesses. You just don't do that. It's not.
My thing is, yeah, like I said, whether it goes this way or that way, I'm just the person that it's going to go this way or that way, but it's going to go without violent threats to people.
And
that's
everybody has a right
right.
to go
So
through the
it's-
proper
yeah.
channels. And I've been very open. Like I said, I got out of my car and got up, because I thought, I'm thinking I can explain this and answer any questions that people might have, but they were very angry, very aggressive, and there wasn't anything I was going to say that was going to change what they already thought. So, again, I thought there was a lot of people who were going to show up tonight, and I would be able to answer any
I
questions.
invited 2 of them.
and I'm
Threaten me, I'd like to
I'm
go
not
out here.
saying that I'm for or against this. I like people to come, like I said, I wanted you to speak so that you could put
express-
your information out there and kind of dispel some of the things that were out there and some of the misrepresentation of council, zoning, yourself. I have questions about the place. I'm not going to be living here, but I have questions. Like, is 6 the maximum? Is that the most you'll ever have in the house?
6 is for right now, yeah. I think maximum we can eventually have 8, but we won't do that. We're not gonna jam them in like sardines. It's gonna be 6 of them. It's a 3,000 square foot house, so it's plenty That's two.
How many bedrooms?
There's three. There's actually four, but there's three technical bedrooms.
So they'll be bunking with,
Well, they'll have, yeah, and that's another, and one of the reasons we do it that way, they will never have the single room, because here's what happens is we don't want anybody to isolate. Because what happens in isolation is, their mind starts going, if they have somebody else in the room with them and say, hey, listen, I think I'm gonna go do this. Somebody might stop them. If they're in there by themselves, there's nobody stopping them.
What are you gonna do if Joe VonSas ends up there? You gotta isolate him.
As little as I am, there could be three in that.
Yeah.
Kim, I want to address the situation that caused a little stir. I did act on my own for that. Actually, the Catholic priest, Father Lyons, came to me, and he was hearing all this stuff. I mean, it was almost like, these kids aren't safe in this town, the school, the church.
Really bad stuff.
It was bad stuff. And then Keith called me and says, Rob, you got to do something.
I did give my reality check on it and give my spin of what I've witnessed, what it is and what it does. That doesn't mean every one of them are going to be that way. But I think everybody, the idea was share your experience and then you go from there. But you can do it professionally or whatever without
respectfully,
disrespecting someone. That's my thing. I gave my rendition of what things that I've seen, how these things work and everything. And that doesn't mean that everybody's like that. It's just,
So I want to finish my statement.
Oh.
That's all right. No, like I said, I knew that it was nothing council sanctioned, and I couldn't do it that way. That's why I didn't call Kim, Tom, I didn't, because if I did, then if you showed up, then we were in trouble. So I did it on my own. So I apologize if it offended anybody, but a lot of good came out of that.
It did.
And that's all I can say.
And Father Lyons is my priest. We go there, and he was extremely concerned.
Yep.
And he knows a little bit of my story, and so he said, once I was like, what? He said, I kind of stepped back and I was like, no, there's something not right here. And so I felt like at that meeting we got a lot of information out there, and he felt a little bit better. And he's not, same thing, he's not supporting
Right.
or, he's not doing that, but he wanted to get the information of what was correct and what was
Right.
going on.
So from that standpoint.
I think he acted fair.
Yeah, exactly.
Very
Yeah, I
fair.
was really
And
impressed with
I
his
was too.
questions. Yeah.
He did
Yep,
act very
he did.
fair.
Yep, he was
So,
very fair. So, anyway, go ahead.
You said that it's not a boarding house and there are no leases.
No.
So what is it actually registered as or zoned as, or what will you be pursuing?
It's a residential house. It's like any group home, anybody, it's a residential house.
Just a group home, that's,
Well, it's,
It's a group, I don't even know if it would be
Would you
called a group
classify
home.
that?
It's a residential house.
Yeah.
They live like everyone else, and they have a right to do that. And so that's why we try to really protect what's going on. We can't put them out. I mean, I even had somebody at that meeting say, put them up in Biglerville and make them work in the orchards. And I'm like, what? I said, no, nobody. Some of these men are professional men. They're not, people have this wrong idea that these are these guys that are coming out of the gutter and they're hardcore criminals. That's not what they are. I mean, I have, there's many people, many family members, many professionals that live in our houses. So they're not going to want to, I don't think it's a bad job, but I don't, I don't think all of them want to work there and be put up in the middle of nowhere.
I just want to give you the opportunity to,
Yeah, I mean,
voice that.
and like I said, I'll answer any questions. I understand the stigma against it. I understand for some people it's very scary. But here's another, fact. We do a Narcan route every day throughout Adams County and York County. And I can tell you, in McSherrystown alone, I give out 60 to 80 Narcans a week, not a month,
Wow.
a week. There was a child just recently in McSherrystown that died because of someone using. And I actually had visited that house many times because of parents using. So it's here. And we just want to help. I mean, we're not trying to, I mean, there's things all over, I have to stop reading, but the things about we're doing this to the community, this is illegal, we're bringing horrible people from all different parts of the country, that's not true. This house will solely be for Adams County. That's what it's for. So it's already here. I mean, we can't deny that.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
Right.
We're just trying to make it better.
it's just trying to make it better. And it does. I mean, statistically, it does help the community.
So right now, they're in the appeal
Yeah, there's
process of the zoning.
I'm hearing we may have a date sometime we might have a date sometime at the end of the week, maybe, but I think it's going to be within the next 30 days. But yeah.
See what,
Does that mean settlement will not occur
No.
till after, or you're still?
No, we're still going to settle.
Okay,
We're still
gotcha.
going to settle
Yep.
on the house.
and I think also, this is just me, because the language still wasn't broken down to me as to how zoning is zoning it. For example, and maybe people be more comfortable if, once they break it down. For example, you said that it's not a boarding house, but if these guys get a job, something will be coming out of their paycheck. If something's coming out of it, so that's where we miss the language. If something's going to come out of each individual's paycheck, does zoning see that as paying rent? If they're paying rent now, is it labeled a boarding house? So that's where I think if that language is broken down for everybody, that's where you can make a better decision. Once that language is broken down, we don't know.
Here's the problem. I mean, here's the issue with that boarding house. It's not a boarding house. And if it was, even if they're paying rent, and most of them don't. Our organizations come in the house. When they come in the house, they're not paying anything to come in the house, but we have to keep that house going. So we pay that. Now, once they get established, they will be paying something, but rental property is residential. So it's still residential. A boarding house is someone getting a room to themselves and then just being able to cook, use the facilities, the bathroom, and the kitchen. They don't have their own rooms. They share the whole house together. They take care of the whole house together.
So that's something that zoning has to, that's not us, that's just something that zoning's gonna have to
Well, they already
interpret
did.
that language. Well,
Yeah, they already
right,
did.
like I said, me and I guess nobody else have seen that, but I think once that language is interpreted,
Well, no, they
That
gave
might-
us an approval. They've already given us.
okay, but I'm saying, but we don't know the language of how. That's where everybody be more comfortable. In other words, how is it broken down? How is this zoned? I think everybody would have, if they have a better understanding of
Well, I mean,
actually.
basically, it's a family living like everybody else. That's it. That's why we can't.
And that's how they're zoning it as a.
Yes, they're zoning it as a family because that's what they are. They live together, they cook together, they do all the maintenance. They
Yeah,
live as a
and that's
family.
why, see, the definition of a family
Does
isn't
not-
just mean husband, wife, and kids.
No.
The traditional way, and that's the language of.
Right, but I said
families.
that there's a borderline of if everybody's paying some type of part of rent or whatever, then that's where you get that thin line. Am I renting a room or am I, you know?
Gina, I remember you stating they weren't paying rent, but they would help with utilities.
Well,
Is
yes,
that- yeah,
they
so
don't-
that was
they
the
should
part
pay
that-
Utilities,
Yeah.
they will eventually pay something, we don't know what that will be, and we can't count on that. So
Mm-hmm.
when they come in, no, they're not paying anything, so then what's it called?
Right, and then so what if so he's working, Joe has a job that he's bringing home $400 a week, but he's refusing to pay anything. What happens to him?
Well, it's a case-by-case thing.
Right, but right.
We've never really had that issue. Most of the time, they're very grateful of where they are because we've helped them, and they do what they can to support themselves, because eventually, they're gonna leave our house and have to support themselves
And be independent.
and be
Right,
independent.
So what
that's
they're-
the goal.
So essentially what they're doing is they're contributing to the overhead expenses
Right,
while they're there,
while they're there.
as long as they can.
As long as they can. We're talking, when the guys first come in, they have a lot of stuff that they have to do if they come out of a county jail. They have some aftercare that they have to take care of. They have probation, they have classes, they have things like that they have to do or they may go back to jail, or they may be in violation of some of this stuff. You know, we have some people
Court-ordered.
court-ordered stuff, so we have to get that all straightened out and we help them keep, what I say all the time is, it's kind of ironic, they can navigate, a lot of them can navigate addiction, they cannot navigate real life. So what we're doing is we're structuring it so we don't set them up to fail, so that we help them, you know, this is what you have to do this day, and this is what you have to do that day, and oh, you need to go to a doctor, so then we have a person that will come pick them up, take them to the doctor. So we give them, you know, all of the structure that they need to be successful. And our houses are extremely successful. We have guys, and the guys can stay as long as they want. We used to, before COVID, it would be they could stay 12 months. The problem is now you go out for a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom apartment and you're paying $1,700, $1,800 a month. They can't afford that when they're first rebuilding their lives. Or they have massive fines, or they have child support, or they have other obligations so they end up staying a long period of time. And that's fine, as long as they follow the rules. A lot of times it works because guys are in a recovery or are doing great, and we'll bring another guy in, a new guy in, and they'll help each other. You know, I was at your same spot, this is what I did, and this is how it works, so that it helps you. Again, it's not perfect, and I'm not trying to paint this beautiful, wonderful picture, but it works a lot of times, and the guys do recover.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, thanks. So I need a motion to adjourn.
Anyone else?
Anybody else? Oh, okay.
I'll ask you a
Okay.
question. When we were back at the meeting, when it was asked about putting it in an R, you said they require an R1 or R2. Who are they?
The zoning, well, here's.
No, I'm saying, when we were
Well,
talking
here's-
about, somebody said, why don't you put it out of town or whatever, you said they require that they be in a R1 or R2.
Well, here's the thing, and people think I made this up. I was called a liar to my face, and I was insulting someone's intelligence. Anyone who has an addiction or mental health issues is covered under the Americans with Disabilities Act, which means we cannot discriminate against them. They can live anywhere. They have to live like everybody else does, like, you know, your family, my family. We cannot say we don't want those people in our neighborhood. We want to put them outside of town.
Like in an institution.
It's like an institution. We don't want them. They cannot be discriminated against. And R1 is where all of these houses are. I mean, there's state, federal laws. You know, there's a big, and I even said, and again, they got more angry with me, but if you look up online, there's a federal law called Not My Backyard. And that actually started because of individuals with disabilities would move into neighborhoods, and people didn't want them outside hanging out. They had physical and mental disabilities, so people would band together to try to force them out. So now it's really illegal that anyone with an addiction, it is actually a federal law that they have to be able to live in residential areas. And so when I got my determination letter through zoning, and again, it didn't have anything to do with the borough, I just went to get a determination letter so I could have everything, make sure everything was done. They zoned it as R1, R2. And they did that in January, so then I was able to find whatever house was available. And we tried everywhere, and we just had a hard time. We were getting beat out all the time because the housing market is really crazy. And then we found this house by actually one of our seniors who told us about it, and that's how we got it. But yeah, it's.
No, when you said it that night, it made it sound like, I was just curious, you said they require them to be in an R1. Well, who are they? I mean, I didn't know if it was.
Adams County,
Actually-
getting the money, is that what?
Actually, it's our zoning. It starts with our zoning, with our R1 and our R2 and our commercial and industrial. And then
No, but
what,
I understand what you're saying, but what my question to her was, and you weren't there at the little meeting, that she stated that
why I picked McSherrystown is because it's very close to Hanover, which the guys have massive job opportunities. If we go to Gettysburg, someone said, why don't you just go to Gettysburg? They had a house there that failed. And one of the reasons is because they have no real employment there except a lot of tourists in the tourist time of year. So these guys don't have.
So it's seasonal.
It's seasonal. So here in Hanover, we have, 9 years when I started this, I thought that would be our biggest obstacle was finding jobs, but we have never had a problem finding our guys jobs, and actually we have, we hook them up with some of the programs that are out in the community. I have guys that received their CDL. I have a guy who's a mason now, and they were trained in Hanover at some of these places because there's so many jobs. It's not like any other place as far as employment. And that's the big thing that we really push is make sure they have employment. It's not just for the money, but they need to feel, like they have accomplished something every day. They have to go out and have a schedule. They have to live a life that they're going to have to support themselves and be responsible and accountable for themselves. Hanover, Adams County wanted us to do it in Adams County, so this was the closest that I could find that we're still close to Hanover, but we're in Adams County. So that's one of the reasons why I picked
When you
McSherrystown.
say Adams County one, Adams County what?
We can put, the
Commissioners.
Adams County Commissioners wanted us,
Yeah.
they wanted us to put a house there.
That's what it was you were looking for.
Yeah, the commissioners.
And there,
Yeah, and zoning is, first it's, the borough, then it'll go county, then it's state, and then it's federal. So there's different laws with ADA, R1 and R2, and individuals with disabilities that are, addiction covers.
but I was just looking for clarification
Yeah.
as to what you said.
No, that's
And
fine.
basically, it makes sense, but you made it sound like they told you it had to be R1, R2. It could be anywhere, but you can't discriminate one or the other.
Yeah, I guess you're right. The only thing that you can't do is say we can't be in one area. And individuals, as people and families, we don't usually live in like a commercial area. We don't live in warehouses or commercial. So that would be something that we wouldn't be able to live in, or they would be able to live in. But any residential area.
And I think a lot of people, what they also have been confused with, and this is the other thing that's still floating around, when you have someone that's just coming out of jail, whether it's for drugs or whatever, the other question was, is there something about being within a certain mile radius of a school? So a lot of people brought that up, but that was a concern. Is it something where they have to be a certain mile radius of a school?
No, the only ones that I know that there are certain areas that they can't be is anyone who's on a registry, which would be any kind of sexual, you might be able to tell me, any kind of sexual crimes. They're the only ones that can't be within school distances and around children.
Would have restrictions.
They have restrictions, but in saying that, here's the biggest misconception. It doesn't matter what their crimes are. I can tell you where the house is. There are 2 or 3 people that I know that are felons in that road, on that road. So they're already living there.
Oh, it's more than that.
Well, I'm just saying
Yeah,
that,
right.
that I know of.
Right.
And there's no restrictions on where they have to
Right.
live or anything like that. So no, and anybody who's on a registry, yes, and they will not be in our house. We legally can't take them. It's, we don't take any.
See, and that's the other thing that needed to be broken down.
Yeah, we don't take any sex offenders. Anybody who's on any registry, we cannot take.
Yep. Well, thanks for explaining that, Jeannie. Okay, anything else? And hopefully, yep. All right. Motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
All right. Motion. Thank you.